become a more of a generic, but we say Jai Mata Ji Ki.
That is actually often repeated. I'm adding on to your point that the biggest flaws of Rajputs were that they didn't respect their women, and it is something that I cannot relate to. I agree
untrue.
that Sati and those things can be debated, but there were reasons for it.
So and, Sati and Jauhar are very different.
Different, I know. Yeah, and but you can tell.
Yeah, no, sorry, I keep cutting you.
No. I have made my point.
Yeah, so and people keep thinking that these women were forced. It was their own choice. I mean,
right.
Whether it's even Sati for that matter, and in Rajasthan it's very sacred because we have Sati Matas. That means ladies who voluntarily chosen to sort of emulate themselves, emulate, I'm saying, to do the sort of Agni, entering the fire, and they've been deified in a way that they have become sort of demigods or gods themselves. So these people were put in sacred sort of positions. They were given a pedestal, and so it's very, I mean, people don't understand it. We understand Sati with Raja Ram Mohan Roy and what was happening in Bengal, and there's a whole sort of conspiracy to that also. But Jauhar was completely different, and I have this argument with people online who say, these Instagrammers from the West who like to use our history but twist it in a way to sort of get their likes and visibility, and they say that, and they make it out to be that we were forcing these women to jump in, whereas it was a complete choice of the women. When the men were going, people were like, oh, why weren't men jumping? The men were going for a suicide mission to fight to the death, right? Saka, as we say, Kesariya Safa, aap bandh ke, aap Saka ke liye jate the. So you were going for a sort of definite death, and the women would this was their way of fighting the opponent, because they knew that the minute if they lost, and usually this would happen when the odds were very
sieges,
and odds हमारे 500 लोग हैं वो 10,000 लोग हैं, so there was no chance. The siege was lifted. You didn't have water, you didn't have अनाज नहीं था आपके गढ़ में. And so this was the last stand, basically.
Right.
And then the men would go sort of on their horses attacking in for Saka, and the women, because they knew that by chance, when the people come in, they are not going to kill them, which they were happy to sort of die with their husbands and families. They would take them as sex slaves and servants. In fact, across the Hindu Kush का नाम ही इसलिए पड़ा है, some people say, is because there were mounds and mounds of dead Hindus out there, because we couldn't survive the journey. इतना ठंड था वहाँ पे.
Those who used to be taken as slave.
And people said, oh, then why didn't you poison करते? Why is this fire thing? These people would be defiling bodies, dead bodies also.
Necrophilia.
Completely. And they would do it in front of your family members, the ones who had survived, and then kill them, So this was a way, and of course, in our Vedic culture, the fire purification is given a very high pedestal, right? I mean, that's old Vedic culture also, whether you see the Zoroastrians, who I find as a sister culture to the old Vedic, fire is given this importance, this all-consuming
it is also about evolution. Exactly. Why fire is given that much importance? Because ये सब चीजें तो वेस्ट मान लेता है कि फायर से ही ह्यूमन लाइफ आई, फायर से ही हमारे अंदर वो प्रोटीन आए जिससे हमारा माइंड उस तरीके से डेवलप करा. लेकिन when our people are worshipping fire, there is reason behind it, because it was the thing that gave us this type of life that we are living. Controlling fire was
controlling
main
nature at the time, like when we were hunter gatherers,
so that we can cook the food
and protect yourself from wild animals.
Exactly.
And sort of burn things that would further help you, whether it's foil, whether it's fuel, so much, So, I mean, the West shouldn't be talking. They were burning poor innocent women in the names of, witch hunting and stuff.
Right,
so,
right.
They have a lot more skeletons in their closet, and I think they're more sort of insecure about that. So they sort of just try and push all their guilt onto us.
Right, that has happened. So I'll come to that later. But also, the way Saka and Jauhar used to happen was like कि वो होता था 12-1 बजे. अगर एक टाइम का हम अंदाजा लगाएं, जौहर 12-1 बजे हो जाता था, और फिर ब्रह्म मुहूर्त में, जो कि हम जिसे मॉर्निंग का पहली सूर्य की किरण कहते हैं, उसमें राजपूत साका करने जाते थे. सो इट वाज लाइक कि जिसने अपने उस बीवी को, उस बच्चे को जलते हुए देखा है, जैसे उसने इस तरीके से
the rage would be something else.
The rage that you'll have, it was about कि अब मैं मरना तो है ही, तो इस तरीके से मरूंगा कम से कम कि इनकी 7 पुश्तें याद रखें कि किससे लड़ाई हुई थी. So it was that concept, जिसने अपने बच्चों को, बीवी को जलते हुए देखा, उसकी राख मल के जाते थे. So that was how it was. And again, coming back to that criticism, those very same women were raising those men.
It was the women. You think the men were all out fighting in
how
battles?
Did that mindset came to their mind?
The women
those
were the
women
strongest.
were raising.
Absolutely, the Rajput women are cut off a different cloth. I feel, you know, they were the ones who were instilling this feelings of honor and pride and courage and sacrifice and nobility in the children. I mean, of course, and they would fight when they had to. They would play politics when they had to. They were running the kingdom. Even in Jaipur, whether you find any of these old Rajputs, it was the Janana, the Rani Vas or the Raniyon ka Vas, which was running the place. The Maharaja was, of course, out and in and out. Half the Maharajas of Jaipur have not, or Amber, have not even died out here. They were just out.
They were
Bengal
out
and Deccan and
right.
Afghanistan. So it was the women out here.
And this trend has been coming since Mahabharata time. अगर हम द्रौपदी का भी वो देखते हैं, आजकल ये आ रही है बाहर बातें. पहले तो द्रौपदी को बहुत बेचारा बना के दिखा दिया गया था.
Right.
But now Amiganatra है, I'm sure you must have heard.
I've heard of her, yeah.
So the way she describes her, that is entirely different from what we have been told from last 20-30 years.
Right.
She was the one handling and taking care of entire Indraprasth.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Like handling all
Everything.
day-to-day matters of Indraprasth. Kings used to do their things like they were doing it in 17th century, 16th century.
We were good for fighting, yeah. Like, you know, there is truth to it, yeah. I mean, testosterone is used in that, but the brain of the Rajput ladies. I mean, that's why. I mean, it's whether we see in history, and Vinamra asked me this question, that you find a lot of Rajput gotras or Rajput clans within different communities. Ye kaise aaya? And it comes back to this question, is that you were only a Rajput when your mother was a Rajput. Your father can be the Maharaja of wherever he wants, and you can be the eldest child, but if your mother is not a Rajput, so you would that sort of lineage.
होती थी गोत्र पिता का.
Lineage would be.
जी ने भी बताया.
Yeah. So Gotra, of course, aapka father, and it has a scientific reason also, right? I mean, we can only pass on that gene. So just the
male
importance.
gene can be passed on by a male only.
So XY mein, I think the Y gene is only with us, right? Women are XX. That's how you. But the importance of women. I mean, and there are so many stories and monuments that testify that. Now it's just our job as people from the community or any historian or researcher to bring that up to light, and not. We're almost apologetic about our history. I was for the longest time, you know, growing up in the sort of thing where you almost felt bad to be a Rajput, where
defensive हो जाते थे.
Yeah, you know, where I felt that it did
guilt trip पे क्योंकि रखा गया ना बहुत समय
हमेशा से, you know, whether it's even within our community, it's something that seeped into the community also, where we were almost like trying to be holier than thou. I mean, it's Rajput ladies. I mean, I can really suggest a great person to talk to. She's this lady who runs this page called the Wise Stories or the Wise Pantry. Her name is Yuvragi.
Okay.
You must try and get her to speak just about the role of women in the Rajput society in history. She's very well read, whether in English, Hindi, Marwadi.
Definitely.
I'll share her contact with you also, and she'll be a brilliant person, because me talking about this thing is okay to a certain level, but I feel there'll be more depth when it comes from someone, a lady who's studying and researching and doing a lot of work in that field.
Makes sense. I'll definitely do that, because that is something also close to my heart, right?
Yeah.
That criticism is something that I have been handling my whole life as well, right? I have been put into that guilt trip too.
Yeah, that
the same guilt trip you are talking about.
Yeah, that inko kabhi badhne mat do, and the Rajputs shouldn't, and say the Rajputs are the ones who gave up. Tell me one community or one in the world who's given up land and property or whatever influence the way the Rajputs and other princely states also, but it was a majority of the Rajputs who like, you're making India, we are part of it, we will join.
First one to, like, only few kingdoms were there जिनको convince करना पड़ा था.
And because of their own political reasons, because of the politics of the leaders at the time, they were trying to sort of And what did the government do then? They've taken away their titles, they took away their privy purse.
Everything they promised, they took it away.
And then today they're targeting them, and if they have a property that's in litigation which is theirs, the government will say no, and the court will say, how dare these people call themselves Maharajas? It's a cultural title. If I want to call the head of the Jaipur House Maharaja, it's my wish, it's my cultural right to do that. If I want to call the Maharaja of Karoli and his son Yuvraj Sahib, it's my cultural right. I mean, how can you say that it's illegal to do that? I mean, they are not saying that they don't write it in their passports, but it is a cultural thing. We want to sell the Rajput story and the history and heritage and get tourism, and but we don't want to sort of give them or give us that due.
The real part of it. Like you said it very properly, ना अभी आपने जब वो बोला, जब हम witch hunting वाली बात कर रहे थे, the way they oppressed, they as in Westerners oppressed and the natives of Africa and America, they superimposed that on us.
Exactly.
Because they didn't want to discuss that, what they were doing. They didn't want that to come in mainstream. But they superimposed that on us. But कहीं भी पूरे उसमें again जो आपने बोला, कोई uprising नहीं है, कोई वो नहीं है कि लोग
खुशी है। ये नहीं कि इनके 200 साल 300 साल हजार साल रूल कर रहे, 1500 साल मेवाड़ तो I don't know how long it's supposed to be the longest lineage till now, even more than Japan, they say, if you take, and that then they make our history into mythology.
फिर वो रघुवंश वाली बात ले आओ तो फिर तो बात ही खत्म हो गई।
हाँ वही, पर ये बोलेंगे नहीं अरे आप बोल सकते हो that you're related or you have 30-40 ancestors, but if an Indian says it, you're like it might be mythology and all of that. चुपता मारना चाहिए I think ऐसे लोगों को।
अच्छा, tell me one more मतलब I think this journey has been 4-5 years long for you for discovering this history, or Mayo से ही start हो गया था?
So I've been documenting actively and posting and talking about it since COVID.
No, I'm talking about the historical part.
Since I was a child, I've been reading. I've charted all the
What fascinated you most, like इस पूरी journey में? What was that one thing? I'm sure there must be multiple things, but कुछ एक ऐसा जो.
So I just feel, and I feel that maybe a little ludicrous to talk about it again and again, but the valor and the courage of the Rajputs was unparalleled. I'll give you a small example which a lot of people don't talk about. And so in World War I, there was a place called Haifa, if you've heard
Israel,
of.
yeah.
In Israel, right? And it was occupied by the Ottoman Turks. Now, the British government at the time sent the Jodhpur Lancers and the Mysore Lancers. The Jodhpur Lancers were leading the charge. These were men in their handsome looking, tall, dark and handsome, if you had to define, was the Jodhpur Lancers. They went for a full-on, head-on charge to cannons pounding on them from one side, but they didn't budge. It's not like they saw cannons like arre karke. They went head-on. They took over Haifa, won it for the Israelis, and today Israel and people out there are saying that it wasn't the British, it was the Indians who.
Like 4-5 years ago, they started recognizing it. 2018,
and before that, it was completely ignored. There's a beautiful book written
at 100 years century जो उनका वो था celebration. I think उसमें उन्होंने वो reinvent करा.
Right, exactly. But just think about, if you just picture it in your head, think of, I mean, today we think about guns, and if कोई pistol निकालता है, we're like, अरे, हम. That day they were firing cannons at you and you were going head on. If someone fell, your brother, cousin, kaka, baba, people were falling, but you were at it. And that is the determination.
In Khanwa too.
And in Khanwa too. Although Khanwa, I feel.
First time they were seeing cannons at.
First, exactly. They were seeing cannons.
Even then they put their heads.
Even then, I mean, the Jodhpur, the Rathors are famous for that. That they have, of course, the other Rajput communities, but I feel the Rathors hold that position, that they have gone and shown it a number of times. You must read about this. I'll show you, and this is a pitch I'm going to make to anyone who's watching your podcast or whoever is good in writing or script making. There's this battle called the Battle of Gangwana, which is between Rajputs. So, we don't have to offend anyone, or, we can just talk about our own community and the politics between them through this one incident that happens, which includes Bikaner, which includes Jaipur during Jai Singh's time, which includes Jodhpur, Nagaur and Udaipur. And I won't actually, I urge people to go and sort of read about it, because it has the makings of one of the most brilliant sort of movies. And I keep saying this because I feel we don't write enough. And that's why I'd like to thank Virender Singh ji that you were mentioning, because, Rajputs are finally getting out into scholarship. The thing is, we don't write and we discuss and we talk. and because of that there's not enough
They
literature and
started to pick
scholarship
up the
modern
modern sword.
exactly, and other communities are going on and then show you these sort of vague references, but beyond that I feel film also has a big sort of role to play.
We have been sidelined in
completely. We make like even the movie they made on Prithviraj Chauhan, or even Padmavati and all were very, I mean, maybe looking. I mean, Udaipur didn't even have that safa. They would wear the Mewadi pag, which is a different style of wearing it. You don't get into those details. You make it filmy, dance. You know, just do justice to history once. So that's one sort of. Please read about this Battle of Gangwana. It is like 300. The movie, but in
even
Rajasthan,
I'm not aware of Gangwana. I'll check.
It's fabulous. I mean, and it involves politics between the Rajputs, and that is one of our. If I really had to choose, if people put me on a gunpoint and said, if you have to choose something bad or you have to criticize, it will be the lack of unity that we, from time to time. Now that may be of different reasons.
But that is always there in any part of the world.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
When it was required, I think there was unity. I feel
for very temporary times, but I feel because of our martial spirit, because of our independent thinking, I feel we didn't have that communal sort of thing. In Rajputs, we didn't look at that. We were ruling places, and everyone in that kingdom was our family. We didn't think of Rajputs as the family.
Makes
right?
sense. Yes.
So the
Praja Palan was the most highest.
So because of
duty.
that, and like I was saying, there's a reason behind it and why we started thinking. But I feel that has reached a point, and then where we were also trying to pull each other down.
Right.
Which I mean, we have to accept when you're talking about the greatness and the strengths. I feel we have to be strong enough to also admit where we lack, so that we can build upon that, you know. And that's what I'm trying to like, you know. Today also Udaipur people will come and be like, you know, Jaipur, or Jaipur will say Jodhpur, Jodhpur will do. Why? I mean, you know, you can appreciate if you're joking, it's fine, you know, a joke here and there is, but there should be no ill feeling towards each other. Yeah, because I mean we have. And everyone is related to everyone. That's the funny part. We were fighting with each other, but वो किसी के बुआ का बेटा था, वो किसी के काकोसा का वो था, and it was all mixed.
I think, maybe I don't know. This is something I made up. But Mahabharat लिखी इसलिए गई थी because they knew कि this is gonna happen. Now